Hey, it's your guy Tyrrell back with the interviews. In today's video, we're going to briefly analyze Tomiyasu's defensive display against Mo Salah and also highlight the minor defensive issues Arsenal experienced in their 3-1 win over Liverpool. So in today's video, first we're going to focus on Tomiyasu versus Salah, then we'll shift to Arsenal's left side and break down the issues that they encountered, and then lastly we'll focus on Diogo Jota's shift to the left-hand side that presented a few issues for Arsenal in the second half. The big talking point prior to kickoff was Arteta's decision to start Tomiyasu at left back rather than Tierney, as Zinchenko was unavailable due to injury. And here what you end up seeing is that you're expecting Arsenal to now play in a 4-1-5 from an attacking sense. You wouldn't expect Tomiyasu and White to consistently bomb forward on the overlap or underlap. And now you can see that Arteta specifically was looking to neutralize the threat of Salah and Luis Diaz out in wider areas. Over on the right hand side, White is a competent defender and he would have protection from Saliba, whereas on the left hand side, Tomiyasu is one of Arsenal's better 1v1 defenders, and with Salah looking to cut in off the touchline, you would trust that he would do a better job both aerially and on the ground against Mo Salah in those positions. The decision also confirmed that Martinelli would be hugging the touchline and Arsenal would be looking to try to get the ball out towards him to run at Alexander-Arnold, opposed to the varied wide rotations on that left-hand side that we've witnessed this season, in which Tierney and Zinchenko have shifted in towards the midfield zone to create a 3-2-5. So when we break it all down and we do look at the board, like we stated in yesterday's video, Arsenal's pressing was pretty effective in both halves, and from the get-go you could see that they were looking to disrupt Liverpool from building out of the back and allowing Henderson and Thiago time and space on the ball. They had Martinelli stepping towards Alexander-Arnold, Gabriel Jesus was closing down Matip, and then they had Saka tucking in centrally to sit on Thiago while Odegaard pressed Henderson. When Van Dijk received the ball, Saka would step towards Van Dijk and Odegaard would shift laterally to deal with Thiago, and then Henderson would be the free man, but they were encouraging Liverpool to push forward rather than looking to switch the play out towards him in the center of the pitch. As you look higher up the pitch, you can see that the sole individual battle with a bit of time and space was Salah versus Tomiyasu, because White was pushing forward towards Tsimikas and Saliba was tight on Diaz, and if Diaz looked to drop into the midfield zone, Thomas Partey was shifting across, while Xhaka was ensuring that Jota couldn't receive the ball in deeper positions when he moved into that midfield zone, and if he pushed a bit higher, then Gabriel would step forward to pick him up. In the case that Gabriel was stuck on Darwin because Saliba pushed out towards Luis Diaz, then if Jota pushed higher up the pitch, Xhaka would drop in towards the defensive line to track his movement. So as you can see, it was very difficult for Liverpool to get time and space on the ball in their own half, and it resulted in Thiago looking to shift further in towards that inside left channel to get on the ball and pull away Saka or Odegaard. Especially when Saka was forced to push towards Van Dijk, that's when you would see Thiago looking to shift in towards that zone, because Odegaard would be having to shift away from Henderson to pick up the Spaniard. From that position, when he would get on the ball, you would see that in the early stages they were looking to play long balls over the top for Diaz to run in behind White, but in several occasions when Diaz received the ball in that zone, White did a very good job of holding up his play, and Liverpool failed to create legitimate goal-scoring opportunities from those zones. And even if White was unable to track the movement of Luis Diaz, you saw Saliba tracking back to provide cover, and at times, at worst case scenario for Liverpool, Diaz was forced into 1v2s trying to create for his teammates. If Thiago didn't play balls over the top towards White, he was looking to shift the ball across the pitch for Salah to get him into 1v1s against Tomiyasu. The problem here was that the execution was pretty poor, and on several occasions, whether it be Thiago or Van Dijk looking to play cross-field switches towards the path of Salah, it was Tomiyasu that was rising high and winning free aerial duels because the passes weren't within close proximity of the Egyptian wide player. Tomiyasu found it relatively easy to deal with those long balls or switches of play over the top because they weren't coming towards Salah, and in that regard he was dominant. Ultimately, the only times that Liverpool were successfully capable of getting the ball out towards Salah was when Arsenal retreated into two banks of four where they had the high players in Gabriel Jesus and Odegaard looking to sit on Henderson and Thiago, and from there it was Liverpool able to play the ball around a narrow Martinelli to get Salah on the ball on the touchline. The issue that Liverpool encountered here was that there was minimal movement to create space for Salah to cut across Tomiyasu. There were no overlapping runs from Alexander-Arnold due to the fact of the threat of Martinelli in transition, so Alexander-Arnold had to stay a bit higher up the pitch, and then Henderson wasn't making underlapping runs or pulling away markers to create that space for Salah to cut in. In this example, you witness Salah in a 1v1 with Tomiyasu, and here Tomiyasu simply shows Salah towards the byline. Salah drags the ball in towards that zone, but with
no space to cut on towards his left foot. He's forced to continue his run, and Tomiyasu does well to shield it by using his strength and his body frame in low gravity to push Salah off the ball, recover possession, and then push forward down the left touchline to progress Arsenal's play. Here you witness Salah receiving the ball beyond the halfway line and focus on Tomiyasu looking to recover his position. The issue that Salah makes is that he slows down the attack as he has two runners looking to break beyond the Arsenal center backs, and that enables Tomiyasu to get within close proximity of Salah, force him wide towards the touchline, and he's able to stick with Salah stride for stride and force him wide, and from there that allows him to make a challenge to halt the Liverpool counterattack.
So if Tomiyasu stuck tight with Salah, leaving about 5 yards of space ahead of him, or just simply stuck tight on his shoulder, then Salah struggled to get the better of Tomiyasu, whether it be looking to play quick 1-2s to run in behind. Those situations would result in him squaring the ball to either Henderson, Alexander-Arnold, or Thiago, and then looking to run across or off the shoulder of Tomiyasu, and in those situations, Tomiyasu stuck tight and coped well.
In this example, you witness Salah in a 1v2 against Martinelli and Tomiyasu. You can see that Tomiyasu is showing him to the center of the pitch, but here you have him being closed down by both of those two players in a 1v2, and he's forced to drop the ball off to Henderson. From there, Henderson looks to play a first-time ball over the top, and you can see Tomiyasu tracking Salah all the way in towards the penalty area. The pass is pinged into Jota, but it's key that Tomiyasu follows that move because as he tracks Salah, Jota's touch is heavy, and that results in him drifting laterally and breaking up play in the Arsenal penalty area to help Gabriel clear the lines.
However, the only manner in which Salah was able to get the better of Tomiyasu was when he picked up the ball in deeper positions and was capable of having a running start from that wide touchline area. From there, Tomiyasu wasn't getting tight, and it provided Salah the separation and space to run into to either take on Tomiyasu and cut across him, or serve as a creator for the runners breaking in towards the channels.
Here you witness Salah picking up the ball at the halfway line, and either Tomiyasu or Saka are stepping forward to apply pressure. This gives Salah enough time to carry the ball a few yards forward, and he locates Darwin Nunez in between the center backs. As he continues to carry the ball in towards the final third, that's where you see Darwin making a run across both center backs into space behind Tomiyasu and Saka, and that results in Salah sliding the ball across Saka and Tomiyasu for Darwin to receive the ball in right half space. It's a good run from the Liverpool striker, but from this position he fires an audacious effort on goal that Ramsdale easily pushes away. Here you witness Alexander-Arnold receiving the ball freely in his own third, and with Martinelli not stepping tight, he slides the ball across the Brazilian for Salah, dropping in towards his own half, and with Tomiyasu not sticking tight, Salah is capable of playing the ball across Tomiyasu into the path of Henderson, who's making the run off Odegaard. Liverpool bypasses the Arsenal press, and from there Henderson can now play the ball across Saka into the path of Darwin Nunez, who makes another intelligent run in between the gap of Gabriel and Saka. As he receives the ball ahead of the penalty area, he's locating the run of Luis Diaz in between Saliba and White, and from there he plays a superb ball towards Luis Diaz, but Saliba does a very good job of stepping in to direct the ball towards his own goal that luckily Ramsdale pushes away.
Statistically speaking, Tomiyasu against Salah was a success, and Mikel Arteta's decision was justified. The other factor here is that with Salah dragging Tomiyasu towards the touchline, now there was more space in those channels for the runs of Darwin and Jota. Ultimately, this benefited Liverpool because as that game progressed, when they were able to get the ball out to Alexander-Arnold, Martinelli wasn't getting tight towards him, and now with Salah dragging away Tomiyasu, you would witness Darwin and Jota making runs across the center backs or across Gabriel into the space behind Tomiyasu, and he would dump balls in towards that zone to get his attacking players onto the ball towards the channel. On several occasions, the Arsenal backline was breached, and to no surprise, this resulted in Liverpool's equalizer in that opening half.
In the build-up to Liverpool's equalizer, it stems from Alexander-Arnold clipping a ball over Tomiyasu, and while Gabriel should clear, he's unable to deal with that threat, and that results in Luis Diaz nodding the loose ball across Saliba, and from there focus on the movement of Darwin. Darwin ends up running across Gabriel as Luis Diaz receives the ball in right half space, and as that play develops, Nunez continues his run towards the penalty area, and that's where you end up seeing Luis Diaz carry the ball in towards right half space, and from there you witness Luis Diaz firing a first-time ball across both center backs, and that places Darwin in a position where he can simply tap the ball across Ramsdale from point-blank range.
The second half did result in some adjustments from Arsenal. Rather than having Odegaard shifting laterally to deal with Henderson and Thiago if Saka pushed forward towards Van Dijk, now they ended up having Jesus and Saka dealing with Van Dijk and Matip permanently, and then they had Odegaard and Xhaka pushing forward towards Thiago and Henderson, while you ended up seeing Thomas Partey tracking the movement of Firmino as Luis Diaz came off, and that's where you ended up seeing Jota playing from the left. This was a highly successful press for Arsenal, and it did lead to a lot of their dominance in that second half. It was when they ended up dropping off deeper into two banks of four that we did witness some lackadaisical moments. The press wasn't very good in terms of them closing down individually, and Jota and Firmino's movement presented issues. The decision to introduce Jota did come with some relative risk, as we did witness White becoming more involved in that second half, making overlapping runs to combine with Saka. But what you ended up seeing was that with Alexander-Arnold unable to continue in the second half, now Liverpool were predominantly playing with a three-man backline in attack. They were pushing Tsimikas higher up the pitch, and then Jota was now looking to drop off in towards that midfield zone when Arsenal retreated into two banks of four. And although Liverpool didn't create many chances in that second half, the combination of Jota, Darwin, and Firmino's movement and runs in that second half in the final third resulted in Liverpool's best attacking moves. Jota was picking up pockets of space in that gap between Thomas Partey and Saka. Henderson and Thiago had a bit more time on the ball when Arsenal retreated, and then Firmino's movement by dropping into deeper positions and then spinning off his marker if there was a marker to make runs in behind was a problem.
In the build-up to Firmino's equalizer, it's Thiago sliding the ball freely across Odegaard in towards Henderson. But now focus on Firmino and Jota. Firmino drops ahead of Xhaka and Thomas Partey, and Jota drops into the gap between Saka and Thomas. From there, you could see that Henderson's free to carry the ball forward as Jesus nor Odegaard get back in time. And when Henderson looks to split Thomas and Saka, focus on Firmino's movement again. He initially dropped off Xhaka, but now he's looking to run off him once Jota receives the ball. And as Jota holds off Saka, he locates the run of Firmino in between Saliba and Gabriel, and Saliba's ball watching, and that results in Jota splitting Thomas Partey and Saka, and also splitting White and Saliba for Firmino's run from deep, placing Firmino in this position to carry the ball freely into left half space. Gabriel attempts to recover in time, but Firmino ends up sliding a low effort beyond Ramsdale to level the game. And then here you witness Van Dijk looking to slide the ball across Odegaard and Saka into the path of Jota, dropping into a pocket of space. When Jota receives the ball, focus on Tsimikas pushing higher up the pitch to peg back White, and Darwin now looking to make a run across Gabriel as both Saliba and White can't step. He ends up sliding the ball across Saliba, placing Darwin in a position to receive the ball in left half space, and the only run that he has towards the box is Firmino from deep. Darwin ends up sizing up Gabriel in a 1v1, and focus on Firmino now looking to make a deep run in between Tomiyasu ball watching and Gabriel Jesus tracking back for Henderson. That results in Darwin carrying the ball towards the byline and looking to fizz the ball across the 6-yard area for Firmino running off Tomiyasu, but the execution is poor and the ball ends up falling into the path of Gabriel Jesus.
So as you could see, Arsenal's fullbacks deserve plaudits for initially neutralizing Liverpool's wide players, but Arteta's backline as a whole experienced periodic spells of difficulty with movement beyond their high line when pressure wasn't applied on a consistent basis, specifically in space behind Tomiyasu.